What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Dean, aka the Blue Crusader, and by now you'll probably know who I am, but if you're actually new to the channel, then welcome to the channel. So recently, and by recently I mean yesterday, I actually dropped a video which was reacting to the most shameless movie ripoffs of all time, where we looked at the most ridiculous movie ripoffs and compared them to the official versions, and just looked into how crazy and bizarre the stories were and the actual titles were of these films. If you've actually been watching the videos for a while, you'll notice I am using a different lighting setup right now. It looks a little bit more realistic and the lighting is more natural. I may keep with this lighting setup, or I may actually go with my older setup because it kind of does bleach the whole shot. First of all, it makes me look pretty pale because I'm using a softbox, so everything's just bleach white right now, but the actual quality of the camera is definitely improved with this lighting setup. But nonetheless, we're going to be jumping into part 2 of reacting to the most shameless movie ripoffs. Here we have a fresh list, completely different to last time, and already we're greeted by the first one. So you guys, you've probably already seen the film Frozen by Disney. You'll probably recognize it as the movie famous for the song Let It Go. Well, you've already guessed it, you've probably been looking at it while I've been talking. There's actually a ripoff of Frozen and it's just called Frozen Land. The thing is to me, the logo looks like a ripoff, and that's all I can really see, the fact that it's called Frozen Land and it looks like the same logo, because the character looks like an Inuit or a Native American and the other characters in the real Frozen aren't, so I'm not really sure if this is a ripoff. But I am actually going to read here just to see what it's all about. When there's massive hype and anticipation for a major release, sometimes smaller studios try to cash in. If you haven't watched the last video I made, basically there's a genre of movies called mockbusters, and what it means is they will actually completely rip off or copy an official movie and try and make a movie of the same narrative, or basically just completely rip it off and try and release it before or around the time of the official one's release, so that they can actually cash in and make money, because people may be confused and watch their film thinking it's the real one, or may be interested in watching theirs if they like the official. If you actually understood what I was saying, basically this is what it means. And it says, following Disney's Frozen Phase 4 Films, which is the company or the mockbuster films making it, released the animated film Frozen Land, originally titled The Legend of Cinderella. The film distributors rebranded the French-Canadian movie's artwork and logo to mimic Disney's widely popular family film for its home video release in late November. In fact, The Legend of Cinderella was released theatrically in Canada under its original title in February. Disney eventually sued Phase 4 Films for intentionally misleading the public. So I guess this is one of the mockbusters films where it kind of has a happy ending. I guess not a happy ending for the people who made the film, but obviously for Disney, because they had their copyright or the material kind of taken and they actually managed to sue them. So this is one of the actual situations where I guess the company sued them, because most of these people actually managed to get away with copying them. But nonetheless, moving on to the next title. Pacific Rim, one of the best robot and alien films that most of you guys have heard of in the modern age, and obviously the sequel came out recently, Pacific Rim 2, a film that I've actually not gotten around to watching yet, unfortunately. But one of the most shameless ripoffs here is Atlantic Rim. If you guys don't understand why this is a ripoff, and I have to spell it out obviously for you, well basically it's giant robots. The film is a complete mirror of Pacific Rim. Atlantic Rim still features the giant robots, and in this case though, it's not the Pacific Rim, it's Atlantic Rim. Basically Pacific is the Pacific Ocean and Atlantic is the Atlantic Ocean, and basically they've just changed the name to a different ocean or region, just basically to make the movie title slightly different, but they've literally just copied the movie and changed one word. So still a shameless copy in my eyes, and apparently released a few days before Pacific Rim hit theaters. The Asylum, which we know before, The Asylum is basically the movie studio we talked about in the last video, which ripped off the Transformers films and made Transmorphers, as you've guessed, and it says that they released Atlantic Rim on DVD. One thing you'll notice is, like, these companies, I don't know where they get the budget from. I don't know if they have investors or people who are rich, because some of them have big budgets. Some of them have like a few $100,000 or a few thousand, which is still quite a lot of money to be investing, especially in the hundreds of thousands. And obviously, since they're not official, I don't know where they're making this money from, but it says they released it on DVD. Even though they have like debatable budgets, they always go straight to DVD. I think this is because they literally possibly can't go into the cinema, or they'll obviously face copyright, or it's easier to get copyright striked. But it says the low budget film featured almost the same premise as its major studio counterpart, but took place in New York instead of Hong Kong. So literally they've called it Atlantic Rim instead of Pacific, and it's taking place in New York instead of Hong Kong. So huge difference there, guys, changing one word and changing the city for the plot. And Atlantic Rim has a $500,000 production budget as compared to Pacific Rim's $190 million. So you can already see that Hollywood's version also has a ridiculous budget in comparison to $500K. But like I said, even if you're making an indie movie, 500 grand is a lot of money, guys. It's absolutely crazy. I don't know where they got the money from. They must have investors. But yeah, not much difference whatsoever apart from the budget. The idea is the same, they've just slightly changed it. And apparently it features ex-Baywatch star David Gagachi and Naughty by Nature rapper Anthony Treach Chris. I don't know what any of that means, but apparently people who are notable are in the rip-off version, so all I can say is shame on them. My personal opinion is actually quite funny, but I've already laughed too many times at this because I've seen this enough times already, so I kind of can't laugh anymore at this, but this is definitely one of the most shameful ones we've seen so far. The next one is a film called Apocalypse Z, apparently mirroring the big blockbuster film World War Z, which most of you guys are probably actually aware of, and apparently called Zombie Massacre originally. The Italian zombie movie was titled or retitled Apocalypse Z when it released on DVD in the UK to capitalise on the anticipation of World War Z, starring Brad Pitt. The film was an adaptation of a video game of the same name for the Nintendo Wii. Iconic German schlock director Uwe Boll produced Apocalypse Z and made a cameo appearance in the film as President of the United States. So obviously we can already see that the director of the film kind of wants to immerse himself in the whole of the film. First of all, he wants to change the name and copy World War Z, and he wants to have a cameo role to feature himself as one of the main characters. So you know that the guy obviously wants to control the whole production, and apparently he can't think of his own ideas. But I don't want to be too much of a critic because, like I said, I haven't seen the film and it doesn't really say much about the plot, so the plot itself might not really be a copy, but yet again, it might actually be a good film to watch. I do like zombie films, and most of the zombie films out there are actually low budget, and most of them turn out to be good. So not really much to say about this. Could be a bad copy, could be an okay indie film. The next one is a film called Android Cop. Now you may actually see that this is mirroring the film RoboCop. When I actually first saw this, I thought that this isn't really a rip-off, but if you do actually look to the left of the guy, there is actually an actual Android or RoboCop sort of thing. But the only difference with this to me is the fact that the android or the robot is actually literally an android or a robot. It's not like a man. The whole premise of RoboCop is the fact that he's kind of like half android, half man, or he's like cybernetically enhanced. He's not fully as a robot, so this isn't really copying. I guess they're kind of just bringing robots and police together, which isn't really a new concept if we think about it. We've seen this in cartoons all the time. And it says, released a week before Sony's RoboCop remake was scheduled to open in the theaters, the Asylum released Android Cop starring Michael J. White. While the DVD box art looks like it was created to fool people into thinking it's the new remake, Android Cop's narrative more resembles RoboCop 2, in which involves a narc-related citywide plague. That's actually quite surprising to me as well, because this Michael J. White guy is actually kind of like a well-known actor. Like, I've seen him in different things and he's actually a good actor, so I don't know why he's starring in this kind of film, but to me, although the narrative may have similarities, it doesn't really seem to be a direct copy. Moving on. The next one is Bikini Spring Break. At this point, it kind of seems like we're just digging into this company, the Asylum, and this list from mentalfloss.com kind of is, but they seem to be the recurring culprits with this thing, because apparently all of these copy films are from these guys, and as you can see, Bikini Spring Break is apparently a rip-off of Spring Breakers, which is your generic teen party film. And it says, while Harmony Korean Spring Breakers was originally supposed to be released in 2012, the colourful trippy film was delayed until 2013. That didn't stop Asylum from releasing Bikini Spring Break, which features almost the same premise of four young co-eds from a conservative college throwing caution to the wind in Fort Lauderdale, Florida during spring break. So just another rip-off, but it's kind of like a generic teen film. So to me, the only actual copy or the premise is the fact that they've kind of mirrored the title just so it fools people and gets more clicks or more people to watch the film. But it's kind of a generic idea, so there's not really much to copy here. The next one is another Shameless rip-off, and most of you guys have heard of the horror film Paranormal Activity. It features things like poltergeist and basically just paranormal things going on. Well, apparently this is another Shameless rip-off, because instead of Paranormal Activity, they've called it Paranormal Entity. And the fact that literally the whole premise and the poster looks kind of the same as well. I mean, they've literally copied the text. The font's not entirely ripped off, but I mean, it kind of looks like it's ripped off, and it's just basically just like a, I wouldn't say a POV, but it's kind of like from the point of view of the people in the house, and it kind of mirrors them. So we know that in 2007 the first Paranormal Activity was a massive hit. It was kind of like an indie flick which kind of went through film festivals, and then it just blew up as a horror film, and there's also been sequels ever since then. And apparently Shane Van Dyke conceived, wrote and made the copycat Paranormal Entity for the Asylum. So yet again, the Asylum bringing back with the copy films. Although both Paranormal Activity and Entity were made for almost the same amount of money, the former quickly became a pop culture phenomenon and an instant classic in the horror genre, while the latter was instantly forgotten. What I'm interested in actually seeing is the budget of Paranormal Activity, because it does say here that Entity had a very similar budget to the actual original, so I actually want to see the budget. Wow, that's actually crazy to me. That is actually really crazy. So the first Paranormal Activity film actually only had $11,000 as the budget. I guess it's not surprising because the shots are really basic and there's not really anything too interesting going on there, and I guess the actors were kind of cheap and they don't really have to have any dialogue, so I guess it's a cheap film in itself. I don't know, 11 grand's pretty small for a budget. I mean, I could shoot a film for 11 grand very easily, but it's still a small budget, so you can't really do anything too adventurous with it. And apparently they made like 100 million or something, or like 200 million, so pretty crazy stuff there. From 11 grand to the millions, that's a massive profit flip, absolutely crazy. So apparently they both were made with like 11 grand, and obviously, you know, the Hollywood version or the indie one which hit Hollywood, Paranormal Activity, was probably making millions, like a few hundred million, but the Paranormal Entity probably made like a few hundred, probably a few $100s or a few thousand. So, you know, we know which film's winning. The next one is one of my favourite, and also the one after that is also my favourite as well. This is called Sunday School Musical. They couldn't have been any more blunt with this one, or any more obvious that they were trying to rip something off. I mean, High School Musical has been an absolute hit. High School Musical was an absolute hit, so they probably thought, what's different to high school? What kind of schools is there? Well, we can't do primary school, so what other kind of school is there? Oh yeah, if you go to church, Sunday school. So, let's just do Sunday School Musical, let's make it into like a Christian thing. Well, apparently this is what they did, because this is the Asylum back at it again with the white vans, back at it again with another rip-off, because banking off the success of High School Musical 3, the Asylum produced Sunday School Musical. The knockoff film was conceived when producer Paul Bales attended a seminar for marketing to a Christian audience. So this guy's literally just thought, oh, there's Christians I can market this to, I'm going to a seminar with Christian kids or Christian people, so let's just make a whole film ripping off another film but change the theme to Christian so that they watch the film. Which is actually a really clever move, I'm not gonna lie. He's actually done something really clever. I don't really have any words at this point. It's kind of hard to react. I don't really know what to say, because this is the same company just shamelessly ripping everything off, guys. I was hoping this was going to be a few different Chinese studios and random stuff, but apparently this is just the Asylum making rip-offs. Like I said in the last video though, I do want to watch some of these rip-offs because I'm really interested what they're like. I do actually want to watch some of them though. If you enjoyed the video, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel for more videos every single day, and I'll see you next time.